with another one, another good topic for today. So, side note before we jump into today's topic, I got my new lens on the camera. Ooh, I'm excited. It is the Canon RF 15-35 and it looks absolutely crisp in everything we do. But to jump into today's topic, we are talking about what you need to look for when you go to purchase a WRX or an STI of all generations, from 2002 up until the current, I believe it's 2020 is what is on the market right now. So we're gonna go over all the good things of what you need to look for, what you need to be cautious of, what you should probably stay away from, and just so you don't really fuck yourself in the long run, because no one's gonna wanna do that when you go to purchase one of these cars and have to dump a whole bunch of money into it. So we're gonna start running through all the essentials and start going into what you should probably look out for. So one of the biggest factors when it comes to buying a WRX or an STI is you're gonna wanna find one that is as stock as possible. Or stock if you're lucky enough to find one. A lot of issues when people go to buy these is people buy these cars, they modify them, and then when they get done with them, they revert them back to stock and they do it half-assed and then they trade them into dealerships. I've done it in the past and I'm sorry for anyone out there who has bought any of my old STIs that I've done that to. I greatly apologize to whoever bought my old 07, 08, 011, or 2011, any of them, deeply sorry. But people do that. They buy them, they mod them, they revert them back to stock, and then they trade them into the dealership for whatever they're getting next. So because of that, the cars are half-assed put back together before they're traded in, or they're on the verge of dying. So if you're gonna buy one, find one that's as close to stock as possible. Some of the common mods that you need to look out for, and I really suggest that you familiarize yourself with what the engine bay looks like of these cars. Go to Google, do just a search of factory STI engine bay, WRX engine bay, whatever it is you're looking at buying, and get very familiar with that photo. Some of the common things to look out for is a catback. It's not really a big deal, but if the car is still under warranty, it could void it in the future depending on the Subaru dealership that you take your car to if you have any issues with it and if it's still under warranty. So the catback, it's up to you. It's really not a harmful one. But some of the ones that we're going to get into is an intake, or either a short ram or a cold air intake. If the car is not tuned for it, stay away from it, or ask the dealer if it comes with the factory parts. If it comes with the factory parts, you can put them back and you can revert that car back to stock yourself and do it the right way. Another one is going to be a downpipe. So downpipes are a little easier to see on STIs than they are in the newer WRXs, and they're a little easier to spot on the older WRXs. However, make sure you're looking for a downpipe. You're gonna see a whole bunch of heat shields down in there. We'll go over mine so you know what to look for after we kind of talk about all this. But the downpipe is gonna have a big bulky heat shield going around the turbo. It's also gonna have them going all the way down the downpipe. So with the 2015 WRXs end up, it's gonna be a little more difficult to spot that downpipe, but you can do it. If you crawl just down here in this area by the driver's door and you look up, you'll be able to see a very nicely finished pipe. If you see a very nicely finished pipe, it's probably gonna be aftermarket, so if you can get verification on that from your dealer, do so. Wheels and tires are gonna be another big one. People swap out wheels and tires on these cars all the time, like you can see on mine. I've done it, everyone's done it. Now, it's not a bad thing, but if you are buying one that has wheels and tires swapped onto it, just make sure you're getting good tires with the car, or at least keep in mind that you're gonna have to replace the tires after you buy the car. The big topic one here, access ports. So if you are lucky enough or unlucky enough, depending on the situation, that you find yourself in to get an access port with one of these cars, make sure that you go in there and see the tune that's on the car. You can see what's going on with the car, and we'll jump into that a little bit more. But an access port I would be a little weary of, because it kind of gives an indication that somebody modified the car, pulled some parts off, left the access port behind, or maybe that's just one of those lucky ones where you get lucky and everything's still there. But to those owners that do that, we all appreciate you if you leave behind some paperwork, documentation of what all is done to the car. Another one to keep an eye out for is a blow-off valve. So like we talked about a couple videos ago, a blow-off valve, if not tuned properly, can over time cause damage to the engine, to the turbo, to multiple factors. Now, it's not going to be a make it or break it deal, but I highly suggest that you find one that has a stock bypass valve. You want the car to be as factory as possible. And with the bypass valve, blow-off valve one, when you're looking for that, go ahead and take a look at the intercooler. Make sure it's a factory intercooler as well. People tend to swap these out quite frequently. I've seen a lot of them on a lot of Facebook forums that people swap them out without tuning the car properly, and it still needs to be tuned for that. Another one that's a little more difficult to spot is going to be a short shifter. So the short shifters are, like I said, a little more difficult to spot, but you'll be able to feel it. Now, if the car is under 36,000 mile, 3-year warranty period, that could void the warranty if you have any issues with the drivetrain down the road. Two last ones to keep an eye out for. Coilovers, they're very easy to spot. You can pop the hood, you can see the top hat. If the top hat does not have a rubber boot, or it does, because some coilovers out there do reuse top hats, and if you're buying those, please don't. Buy some good quality coilovers. However, if you are buying a car with coilovers, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure they're a good quality brand. You don't want to be buying one of these cars when it comes on Raceland coilovers and you hate your life because you drive over a leaf and the entire car, it just feels like garbage. So don't do it. Save yourself some time. And if it does come with those coilovers, see if the dealership or the private party who you're buying the car from has that factory suspension still. And then lastly, an easy one to keep an eye out for is end links. So when the car is up off the ground, you can just lay on the ground, you can see the end links. If the end links are swapped out, it's a good indication that something has been swapped in the suspension. So it's just another factor to keep in mind when buying these cars. There's a mosquito. Ah! So those are just some of the common mods to look for when buying one of these cars used. Now we're going to jump into some more things that I suggest that you keep an eye out for when looking at one of these cars. Now I feel like this should go without saying, but I feel like I need to say it anyways. Make sure you're getting that Carfax report if you can. It's going to tell you a lot about the service history of the car. Depending on the mileage that it's at, it's going to tell you how its life has been and how it's been treated. Now there are some stipulations with buying these cars when it comes to Carfaxes, because I know myself and a lot of other people I know do their own maintenance. Now if you are lucky enough to get one that has an entire service history, go for it, but I wouldn't let that be a make it or break it deal, depending on the generation, the year, and how many miles are on the car. But something to keep in mind is if you are buying one and the mileage is close to 100,000 miles, you are going to have to do a timing belt service, water pump, pulleys soon. That service is due at 100,000 miles, but I highly suggest doing it before that. Maybe around 90 to 95, but that is ultimately up to you, the buyer. But as you're getting that Carfax report, that'll tell you the history of the car. If it's been in any accidents, obviously you're going to want to buy a clean title car, unless you're intentionally buying one that's a project car that's maybe been in some damage and you're all right with that. But it's something to keep in mind. Try to find one that's been clean title. Something that goes along with both of these is when you're buying the car, you can request an inspection on the car, which I suggest you doing. If you are not very familiar with these cars or have a strong mechanical background knowledge, I would highly suggest taking it to a third-party shop and getting an inspection done on the car. Now that's not to say that you can't trust the dealership that you're buying the car from, but they're gonna try to make a sale on you. So obviously go through a third-party inspection source. Subaru dealers, I haven't really met a super shady Subaru dealer before, and they've been pretty upfront and honest about what I'm buying. But if it's a third-party mom and pop lot or some other off-brand dealership, I would highly suggest you get a third-party inspection done on the car to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Ultimately, you don't want to buy something that's just completely screwed and you got to go back and fix almost everything on the car. Now let's talk about the one that you're going to enjoy doing. Test driving the car. So when you go to test drive these cars, I have a few suggestions for you. I would suggest leaving that music all the way off, leaving those windows rolled all the way up, so that way you can listen for any sounds that sound unusual. This can be a pretty good indication as if something is broken, loose, not installed correctly, and overall give you a general sense of the car and how the general driving experience is going to be. Now I also suggest driving it at three different intervals. I would drive it carefully around just some small parking lots in the first, give it a couple turny-do guys, and just see if you can hear anything in the suspension knocking or rattling or cranking, popping, any weird sounds that shouldn't be there. I also suggest driving it on a normal daily basis level type thing. So that way you're, in essence, pretending you're driving the car every day to work, just normal driving, nothing out of the ordinary. And then I suggest finding a back road somewhere where you can beat on the car a little bit. Now I know no one wants to buy a car that's been beaten on. However, if you're about to go spend X amount of money, you want to make sure that what you're buying is up to par and it's not going to break on you down the road the first time you beat on it. So make sure you are beating on the car a little bit. Just be respectful. Remember, it's not quite your car yet if you are going to end up buying it, but just be respectful of the car, but beat on it in a good way that lets you get a good feeling of what you're getting yourself into. Now we talked about this earlier a little bit of if your car that you're looking at does come with an access port. This is a good plus for you on the test drive because you can have that access port set up. Now there's 3 monitors that I suggest you have pulled up on that access port that'll give you a really good indication of what's going on with the car. So with the access port, I suggest setting up DAM, which is DAM, DAM, Dynamic Advanced Multiplier, Feedback Knock, and Find Knock Learn. These are going to be really good indications of what's going on with the car. Some of the older GD models, if you're buying one of those, have a DAM setting of, I believe, 1 to 16, and then all other models have a range of 0 to 1. Now, if you're buying one of those models that have a range of 0 to 1, you're always going to want that range to be 1. If it's falling below 1 and you're getting a lot of feedback knock and fine knock clearing, that's a good indication that something is wrong with the engine. Now with the GD models, when it comes to the range of 1 to 16, I'm not too familiar with that because I haven't owned one that has had that range before. But do a little bit of research, go onto Cobb's website, they'll tell you exactly what you need to look out for when it comes to buying a GD chassis that has a range of 0 to 16. So let's say you get back to the dealership and you are done with your test drive. Ooh, the car felt amazing, it felt good. Don't get too excited yet. You still got some other things to check out. One of the things that I suggest you take a look at is the brake rotors and well, you can't really check the pads too much unless you pull the wheels off, but check the brake rotors. Brake rotors on these cars run about $500 for a decent set of stop techs, and the price just goes up from there for other sets like DBA and a couple others. But check the brake rotors. What you can do is you can take your fingernail, drag it up the brake rotor up to the edge, and if you have a giant lip on the edge of that brake rotor, you're gonna have to change those rotors soon, which is another cost to you. So it might be something you can do to get the dealership down on cost a little bit. Now this next portion is just going to be strictly personal opinion on what I know about these cars, but if you are going to buy one, you don't know what generation, what year you want, or what budget you have, here's some of the suggestions I have for you. If you are buying a GD chassis, which is 02 to 07 WRX and STI, if you're buying an STI, I suggest looking at an 05 STI if you want the blob eyes, only because they're 5x114 over 5x100. 04 was the only year they actually did 5x100 on the STIs. And if you want a Hawkeye, I suggest buying an 07. My 07 was my favorite that I've ever had, and I miss it. It's a unicorn, and I regret letting it go. But the 07 STIs come with better gearing. They come with a little bit of interior updates, such as a leather-wrapped steering wheel and a couple other small bits, as well as the engines come with top feed injection rather than side feed. Now, that's not to say that one's better than the other, but however, the top feed is better than side feed injection. Because if you are looking to make power later down the road, you are going to have to swap to top feed injection. If you already have it, you don't need to do the conversion or anything else. So those are my recommendations for the GD chassis. If you're buying a GR chassis, which is 08 to 14, the hatchbacks and the sedans, the ones that a lot of people have, I suggest staying away from all 08 to 10 WRXs and STIs. The WRXs, personal opinion, strictly personal, I don't like the narrow body look of the WRXs, and the STIs also had some major engine problems. My old 08 STI gave me a lot of issues, and that was one of the ones that I'm sorry whoever bought this ended up getting traded in and stripped down. Once again, I'm sorry. But if you are looking to buy a 2015 and up, the VA chassis like the one behind me, if you're buying a WRX, I suggest buying a 2017 and newer. The 2015s to early model 2017s had an issue with the pitch stop brace welds cracking and failing, and it's a huge thing that you don't want to have to deal with when going to Subaru. Subaru is still fixing those warranties as they come in, and they will forever from what I've read on their TSP. But it's more hassle to use, so if you can't afford a late model 2017 and newer, do it. If you're looking at an STI and the VA chassis, I haven't seen any issues with the 2015s and up, so take your pick on whatever you can find for price. Alright my friends, that is gonna wrap up this video. Ooh, I hope this helps some of you out there if you're going out and buying one of these cars, so that way you don't end up being one of the ones who gets screwed. Stay away from the bad apples. I promise you Subarus are fantastic cars when well maintained and cared for. A bonus thing that I just thought of that you should probably look out for as well now that I'm getting into this is rust. Rust is another one. If you're in some of those northern states that salt their roads, rust is very common up in the fender areas on just pretty much every older Subaru that I've seen. The salt really eats away at them, but that's just a little bonus tip that I had for you guys here at the end. But if this video helped you guys out at all with your purchasing decision of buying one of these beautiful cars, go ahead and smash, tap, dance, do whatever you gotta do. Just hit that like button, because I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all the time everyone spends here on the channel with me in the past, present, future, current videos, all of them. If anyone has any video suggestions, video ideas, topics, installs, anything they want, go ahead, you can reach out to me directly on my Instagram, which I'll drop at the end of the video like I always do, or feel free to comment down below in the comments section. So if you are not already subscribed to the channel, you can do that, where are we gonna do it today? Here. We're gonna do it down here. Tap that subscribe button if you're not already, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies. Woo!